All right, very good. My name is Jeff Grosvenor. I'm with Together Tech, and we're here to present information to you guys about some neat opportunities and some technology options that are coming your way. In the room with me also, I've got John and Bob. And so what I'm going to do today is kind of go through a presentation of what we do, how we do it, the different devices we use, and go ahead and try to answer any of your questions. I don't think I can, if somebody wants to monitor the chat, that'd be great. And if there's questions, let me know. And I'm okay if you guys have questions throughout the presentation, just somebody speak up and I'll quit talking. I think you can unmute yourself. Also leave some time at the end for questions if you guys have anything, but you don't need to wait till the end. We'll just, sometimes it seems like it's better to ask during the presentation. So basically, let's see here now. Some reason I'm not, there we go. All right, if I get my slides to work. All right, background. Together Tech was established essentially by individuals like some of you folks that have been in the developmental disabilities field for many years. Obviously, I think it was about 15 years ago when this group came to the division of DD in the state of Missouri. I actually was working for the state of Missouri at the time. And they said they needed to change the way we were doing services. And this is like 15 years ago. We wanted to promote more independence. They wanted to develop a solution to address staffing shortages that were occurring at that time and excessive overtime. And they wanted to use technology to enhance how we support individuals. And as you guys know, in our field, technology is something that it's in other industries and other areas has not been, wasn't something that we were maximizing or using, and there were plenty of opportunities. So they saw an opportunity to try to do some things different and try to help some individuals gain some support and gain some independence. Some of the things we've been able to achieve, obviously, we're supporting individuals across the state safely in their community, in the home they live in and where they want to live, and creating a lot of opportunities for independence for them. Not having to rely on direct care staff, but relying basically on their own skills and abilities, which we have found out is pretty tremendous. They're a lot more capable sometimes than we've thought. We've helped agencies reduce staff turnover, overtime, and what we've done there is basically with our system. And when we come in, we operate 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, and the hours that we're supposed to be on, we don't call in sick. We show up, we're there, we take care of the individuals remotely. And so when individuals, maybe they work a shift right up before we come on, they will go home every night unless there's some kind of emergency that happens during that change. They will get to go home. They don't need to wait for staff to show up before they leave. We will be with them every hour that we're supposed to be. We will be online and be monitoring the individuals. We've also increased the use of technology and changed how we support individuals, which I think is the most critical thing I think you guys will take away from today. Oklahoma's done a fantastic job putting together this resource that's being provided today to show you how we can do things differently and still meet the needs of individuals. What do? We basically work with individuals, obviously, that we believe could benefit from our system. We use sensors throughout a home. One size does not fit all. We basically develop the sensors and bring the sensors to meet the needs of the individual, and everybody has different needs. We work closely with the individual, the parents or guardian, and the remainder of the treatment team to create a system that will maintain and keep people safe and support them in a manner that will help them become independent. Our system basically is set up using cell phones. So if you have a home or if you're in a home and you're thinking about using our system, all you need to do is check and see if you have a cell phone signal, then we're good to go. We could operate within that home. The cell phone is basically the base station, which I'll show you a picture of here in a minute. It communicates with the sensors, and then those sensors in turn communicate back to us at our folks that are monitoring at the monitoring stations. The installation is going to take less than 2 hours. It doesn't take very long. We're using wireless systems that are battery operated. You don't have to have drill holes. You don't have to do anything that's going to hurt the property. And they come in and come out very quickly, very easily. So the installation's very simple and not invasive at all into what could be rental property or the person's home. All the sensors have basically got tamper alerts, which means if somebody's messing with it, we're going to know. If somebody's trying to take it apart or to remove it, we're going to know. If there's a low battery alert, it's going to tell us. The system will tell us that. The system basically will also alert Together Tech staff if the home loses power. So if there's a storm or something happens, and obviously our system has a battery backup that it switches to, and we will be able to continue that, I think, for up to 6 hours. What we would typically do is start calling the local on-call staff that need to be available to come. If there's an issue, we would certainly call them if we thought it was going to be out for an extended period of time, so that we would not lose our ability to support the individual. This is a base station. This is basically kind of the brains of the whole system. As you can see, it's got some of the alerts on here. It shows a variety of information, time, date, the whole thing. It also has a place where staff can, if you choose, they can use this to check in or check out. So what that is they hit that and then they enter a code, and that will be reflective of a staff coming at work or a staff leaving. And that would record in our system the handoff of the system that now we are either done with our remote monitoring service or we are starting it. And this whole base station can be mounted on the wall, or it can be put on a table, it can be put on a counter, it can be put anywhere throughout the home. But it is what we use to basically monitor the rest of the sensors throughout the home. And it is plugged in. This is the only device that you'll have that will require a plug-in, but it can be placed throughout the home. The window sensors and the communication button, these are just two devices that I think every system we have has these two sensors. These two sensors, essentially door windows, pretty self-explanatory. You want to know if a door opens, door closes, same with windows. And then on the communications button, that basically is what an individual would push if they wanted to communicate with us. And they would communicate by hitting that button. It would come to our folks that are on shift during that time period, and then they would call the person back on whatever device they're accustomed to talking to. If it's a cell phone, if it's a landline, whatever they need to use to communicate, we would just use whatever system that they're comfortable with and not require any kind of other system that they need to use for communicating with us. Smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. And I need to tell you, these are not to scale. These are just some pictures we had taken that we're using to show, to demonstrate. If either one of these go off, we have protocols that we implement very quickly. Obviously, a smoke detector, we're going to know the local fire department. We're going to know to get some assistance and to make that happen very quickly. And so we would, and same with carbon monoxide, if that were to go off, we'd have protocols on what we would do with that. Bed mat, that basically is going to tell us, a sensor, that the person's in bed or out of bed. Same with the chair mat. It's a pressure, both those are pressure sensors, and would let us know if somebody's in a chair, somebody's in bed. It's going to let us know where the person is. Along with where the person is, we can use some proximity sensors, which is kind of targeted to a certain area. If you wanted to know if somebody was getting close to something, we would use that. A motion detector's got a little bit wider range, and that would basically be the one that would tell us if somebody's in the hallway or in the kitchen or what have you. That's probably the one device I need to tell you guys that gets messed with the most by individuals that we support. Essentially, people think that's a camera sometimes, and so they'll want to take it apart. So a lot of times when we install them, we basically take it apart and show people it's not a camera, because that's the one question we get the most of. And we're not big on cameras unless they need to be. The watch and the pendant, these are both devices that work with the system, that if you push either one, that's similar to the red button. That would basically let us know that we need to be contacting that home. And obviously we would use the same protocols to call them on whatever device they'd like us to call on. Water sensors, obviously there's a variety of water sensors that we can use to look for floods or overflows or temperature. And so those are things that we can use if needed in the home, devices that we can install. Chair sensor, that's just a different looking device. but it monitors the same way with pressure. Incontinent mat, that's basically if somebody has accidents in the night, instead of having to send somebody in and feel, which I think is not the optimal way to do that, this actually will detect any moisture. And if there is moisture, it'll send a text alert, and that will be what staff would need to see to go in and change someone, or to be aware that that's a better way to basically know if you need to take care of somebody. We use those a lot of times in situations where they're even in a staffed home. If you have staff overnight, instead of having them have to go in and check to see if there's moisture, which is not something I would want to do, we can actually use a device that can detect it and let them know if they need to be changing somebody. That's a much easier way to have a sensor do that for you than to sometimes have to go in, almost wake up the staff to determine, wake up the individual to determine if there's been an accident or not. We use this type of sensor. It's an image sensor, takes a quick snapshot picture, still picture. It can be used for a variety of reasons. If there's a special need to have that kind of sensor, we've got it in a couple homes for a very specific need. The other sensors that we have, those are pretty much all the sensors that we typically use. However, we work with a bunch of variety of manufacturers and suppliers to give us the newest and latest, greatest information on new sensors, and we make those available to folks as soon as we can. We also have a medication reminder system that uses sensors that's tied into the system. If you have medications that are due on a certain frequency and you don't want to have a med error, we can actually send text alerts to a cell phone or to a landline to remind people to take medications. And a lot of times, these homes are busy. There's a lot going on. We've been able to effectively use this system to eliminate med errors and all the paperwork that goes with that. So it's been a pretty effective system, and this works 24 hours a day. The other sensors we talked about, we just monitor those according to the plan. The plan will tell us the hours that they want us to monitor, and that's what we'll be responsible for. But they run 24 hours a day. The medication system runs 24 hours a day, and we set that up to send alerts to coincide with the person's medication regimen. Does anybody have any questions right now before we go into some of the other topics and areas on sensors? Anybody have any questions?
There's not any questions in the chat.
Okay, and if you have questions, you can feel free to unmute your phone or unmute yourself and ask a question and interrupt me. Just tell me to quit talking and I'll be happy to stop and try to answer your questions as you guys run across things. And there'll be some time at the end also if you want to. So that's the medication reminder system. That can actually be used for individuals that self-medicate also. If you have an individual that's responsible for their own medications, we can actually set it up so that we're texting or alerting them as opposed to direct support staff. So it can be used for a variety of reasons. The other thing that's kind of cool, I'll go ahead and mention on this call, is that the medication system, essentially, if you use one of our boxes and you have that base station, if you end up going someplace, maybe home for the weekend or something, you can actually box that up and take it with you, plug it in when you get to where you're at, and the medication reminder system will still continue to function. So it is portable in that fashion if you want to do that. Okay, sensors we use in the home. We work with manufacturers. There's always a need for some kinds of new sensors. And so as you guys get to working with more and more individuals and identifying specialty type sensors that you want to have or that you think would benefit, certainly contact us, and we'd be happy to work with folks to try to create those, or to at least try to identify if there's something already out there. So we're always adding new sensors to our system, and that'll just continue. I think the system technology is going to continue just to grow in this fashion, and I think we'll have lots of more sensors that'll be tailored to meet these folks' needs. We don't typically use cameras. However, at the request of the individual or the guardian or the treatment team to address a specific need, we do have cameras available. And cameras can provide a lot of good information. It's just not something that we feel is the first line of sensors. We feel like there's other things you can use, but a camera sometimes is what's necessary. And if that's what the folks want, we're certainly able to provide that. It does require some, a little bit different Wi-Fi connection because it takes up quite a bit of bandwidth and is certainly a useful tool. But that's the camera that we use, or a picture of it. And it actually is very effective and can do a lot of cool stuff. And on a case-by-case basis, we certainly can use cameras to help meet the needs of individuals.
Oh, there was a question in the chat. It says, does the sensors come as a package, or do you have to pick and choose what you want?
What we will do is, during the process of working with the provider and working with the individual and the treatment team, we'll identify, we may have a recommendation of what we think you need. You guys may identify, well, we'd like to have this too. And so what we will do is we'll put whatever sensors you believe you need in the home. So it'll be a conversation. It's not a package. It's basically, each individual will have different needs. And so we will tailor it to meet their needs. So it'll certainly be different. Like I said, one size does not fit all. And so we would meet with folks and determine what the level of sensors would be needed to help support the individual. Kind of talked about our role. Are there other questions, or was that the only one?
That was the only one for now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Our staff that monitor the homes, obviously will have an assigned hours of the day, and the document, what we'll document is anytime we have communication with the individual, or anytime there's sensor activity that we believe we need to take action, or that we think is unusual. A lot of times the plan will give us the protocols that we'll have to use for the individual, and we'll follow those protocols. If we ultimately need to call somebody, let's say, for instance, an individual communicates to us, they don't feel good and they need staff. What we would do is we would contact, depending on who that local on-call person would be, which a lot of times is going to be the provider staff that already know the person, will be on call, and we will call them and they will come over and take care of the individual. If we're actually supporting a family member in a family home, then we would call the family and they would actually go and help take care of the individual. So those on-call staff are critical, that we need to be able to get to those folks. But what I will also tell you is we very rarely have to contact those individuals. It's on a very rare case-by-case basis that we have to get a hold of those folks. But that certainly is part of the system that we use. As far as the red button, we kind of talked about that being the way that they contact us, or they can use the pendant, or they can use the watch. Anytime they push that button while we're on call, we're basically supporting them. They can push that. We're going to contact the individual. We will call them based on whatever communication device they use. If they use a cell phone, we'll call their cell phone. If they use a landline, we'll call them on a landline. We don't require them to learn a new system to communicate with us. We're going to do whatever's comfortable for them. It doesn't have to be an emergency. If the individual wants to contact us and talk about a movie, or talk about a baseball game, or talk about something going on in their life, that's what we're here to do. We can certainly have those conversations, and we actually would encourage those conversations so that the individual knows how the system works. And if they need it for a situation, we want them to be able to know how it works, but we also want them to know that we're here to help support them, and that button can be pushed at any time. Now, our folks typically take care of 16 individuals they'll be monitoring. So if they have somebody that's in the middle of an issue that they need to address, it might be, if it's just a time to chat, they might tell the individual that I need to take care of an issue and I will call you right back, and allows them to take care of the issue and then call them back. And oddly enough, it's not a shock, but the minute they call them back, they want to know what's going on. Is everything okay? Well, you really can't let them know, but certainly you can continue that conversation about the movie or the baseball game. And we have quite a few folks that do call us, and that's a good thing. We want them to know we're here to help support them. And certainly those calls are fine. We want to encourage them. If Together Tech or our staff basically see an abnormal sensor activity, We basically will follow protocols, but what we may do is document it and have staff be aware of that when they come in the next day. Or if it's something we're very concerned about, we could actually call the individual. Let's say they're out of bed and we want to know what's going on. So we may call the individual and they may say, yeah, I just can't sleep. I'm watching a movie, or I'm fine. Or if they say, I don't feel good, we'll get them some help. So anything that's abnormal on the sensor activity, we want to be aware and communicate that to individuals in an appropriate fashion. And one of the examples that I will give, that we've had issues where an individual that typically only gets up and out of bed a couple of times at night, maybe one time, they were up and down about 4 or 5 times a night, went into the bathroom and then went back to bed. So we felt like since they were continuing to go back to bed, it wasn't necessary to call them and, have a long conversation about what's going on. But we did feel like that was unusual enough. We wanted staff to know about it the next day. So we contacted the staff and told staff, hey, just want to let you know, Jeff was out of bed 5 times last night. That's unusual. You might want to talk to him about what's going on. And so they were able to have that conversation and went ahead and got the doctor's visit, and the doctor's appointment basically determined they had an infection, and they were able to get some medication and get it taken care of. I can guarantee you, if you had direct support staff in the home that night, and it's no fault of the DSPs, those are hardworking folks, do great work. I can guarantee you the note would say everything was fine. I don't think they would have the trend analysis ability to know that was outside the norm of what the person usually got out of bed. Or if they were working with the person a long time, they might have that information, but we can show the data. And so the data that we provide is much richer and actually helps provide information to providers and to families so they can make decisions on if they need to do something to help support the individual, like a doctor's visit or that kind of thing. Together Tech staff, we're going to provide monthly reports. So you're going to get monthly reports from us as a provider, as a case manager, as a guardian or parent, if you want them. We're going to provide information about what's going on throughout that month so that you'll have information from us. And for the most part, what you'll see is everything's on target, nothing unusual. But if there are some unusual things that occurred throughout the month, we will give you that data and give you those notes in a summary report, so you'll have that information. We have a dashboard that basically any authorized user can get access to. An authorized user is anybody that has a parent, a guardian, a service provider, case manager, maybe an RN within the service provider's organization, or other authorized individuals that want to have access to it. And the dashboard is going to give you real-time 24-hour day data. It's essentially kind of the same thing we're looking at as a monitoring staff, but it's going to give you that same information on either an iPad, computer, smartphone with an internet connection. And what it's going to look like is something like this. This is showing a list of sensors. Obviously, the area that's blacked out is client names, so obviously you don't want to see those, but you would actually have them for your caseload, and you could go in and you could see the different activity and do this anytime, anywhere. I know a lot of times when I'm presenting to groups, there'll always be somebody in the group that says, oh yeah, I've got so-and-so on my caseload or within my homes. And this is what it looks like. And you basically pull it up on a smartphone. It's pretty cool stuff. The next thing that's pretty neat about the dashboard is you're going to be able to see, by looking at a variety of sensors, you're going to see if things are on target as far as the trend analysis of what this person typically does during these hours. And so you could actually set parameters so that you could get an alert on a particular sensor if it's above or below, or you set the range, and those notifications will come to you through a cell phone, basically texting, or through emails, however you want to set it up. And so that's been really critical to help us as we monitor the individual, to have those alerts go off, because that makes our folks realize, hey, something's not normal. And then they basically, depending on the individual, will have a decision either to give them a call or to wait till the next day and tell staff, or to say, yeah, I know what's going on there. They may have more information about what's going on with that person, but we always reserve the right. If something's out there that's unusual, we can call in on-call staff, or if the person's awake and out of bed, we may just call the home and ask them how they're doing. And that's kind of the communication goes both ways. They can let us know if they want to talk to us, and we can also do the same. We try not to bother folks, but we also want to make sure that we have folks in a safe environment and know that we're a resource there to help them. So this is really a neat feature that you can use to set notifications that will help you manage folks. And we're looking at the same thing to make sure we're making the right calls to help make sure individuals are safe, and anything that we see extraordinary, we want to let them know. Are there any questions about any of that, or the dashboard, or the sensors, or anything? And before I start talking about the way we basically come in and start helping people. Okay, I'm going to start talking about our free trial. This is something we started when we started with the whole system. We wanted to give folks an opportunity to try the system. The system, obviously, it's new to a lot of people. And one of the things we gain by doing a trial period, and during that trial period, you continue to have staff. So staff are going to continue to be in the home. We're going to basically have our system run during the times that's proposed that we come in and take over. And we're going to build some trend data. That trend data is going to tell us what are the normal patterns for the individual throughout the time periods that we're supposed to be monitoring them. So we come in, we install all the sensors, we talk to all the interested parties, make sure that during the trial period, they're comfortable that the system's working and meeting the needs. We're going to learn something during that trial period. We might tweak something as far as what kind of sensors we're going to use. And so ultimately, at the end of the free trial, when everybody says, yep, we're good to go, we will authorize or have the service coordinators authorize the cost of equipment. Equipment's about $1,500, depending on the number of sensors that you would need. It could be less, could be a little more, but that's typical what it costs. And then you have the remote support services authorized, and then we would go live on that particular date and be responsible for taking care of the person according to whatever the plan parameters are. What I can tell you is during the trial period, many times we learn things. We had a situation where we set up a trial period. And so when we're in the trial mode, we watch it just like we're live. We're monitoring everything just to make sure that we're able to see things and monitor the sensors as need be. So we had a trial going on where we had staff still in the home. We had a door open at 2:00 in the morning. We thought, boy, that's kind of strange. So we went ahead and picked up the phone and called staff just to see if it was staff going outside to their car or something like that. We got nobody picking up. So we got nervous. Within a few minutes, we called the call down list and said, hey, we've got something going on at this home. Get over there and find out what's going on. And again, this was during the trial period when we had staff in the home. So the on-call person got in the car, drove over there 2:00 in the morning and found the individual walking down the sidewalk. So they picked the person up. They knew the person. They said, yeah, hey, how are you doing? What are you up to? Oh, I just decided to take a walk. He said, well, did you tell your staff person? Oh, no, they were asleep on the couch. I didn't want to wake them up. So this is a situation where you had somebody in the home supposed to be responsible for the person, but it didn't work. They got out of the house. So our system caught them, basically had the on-call person go get them, bring them back. This is not a dig on DSPs, because I think DSPs are obviously some of the hardest working folks. The part of the story, I don't know if that was the, second shift for the 10th straight day for that DSP. And believe it or not, people do need to sleep. So that's a situation where you had staff, where our system actually caught it and actually maintained the safety of the individual and brought them back and were able to take care of the individual in an appropriate way. So sometimes when you have staff, and I know these staff are getting overworked, sometimes you feel comfortable because you have staff, but I know we stretch those folks very thin. So that's a situation during a trial period where we were able to, hundreds of miles away, catch a problem and get the person returned to safety. So that's just an example of how we were able to work effectively and to help meet the needs of the individuals. We did have one other story I'll tell you about, and this wasn't during a free trial. This was actually after we went live. We had an individual that we were monitoring. and they hit the red button like at 6 a.m. and said, I hear gunshots outside my bedroom. So that got everybody pretty excited. So we contacted the sheriff, contacted the on-call folks, and basically had everybody rolling to the home as quickly as we could. At the same time, we kept on the phone with the person and kept talking to him. And when the sheriff rolled in, or the police and the direct care staff showed up, essentially what they determined is it was the first day of hunting season. There's about 100 acres outside the back door, and that's what he heard. Just another example of how the system was able to react in an appropriate fashion to help the individual that was very concerned about an issue that was happening at their home. And so that got everybody pretty excited too. And I know it was interesting to see how quickly the sheriff got there and how they were able to react. And they were very interested in how we were using some supports to take care of the individual. He's a very cool guy. So what we're able to do during this free trial period is give you guys an opportunity to try a service, to try the service, make sure it works. If you try the service and it doesn't end up being the right fit, that's okay. Like I said, it's easy for us to take sensors out, and it's easy enough for us to come in and do that. We hope that everybody will be able to have a successful trial period. I don't think we've had anybody that's been unsuccessful, but I know that that's down the road sometime might happen. I think everybody's pretty excited about getting a trial period. I know one of the things that we've had happen almost on every situation, the individual knows that we're setting in sensors in their home and that the ultimate goal is for staff to be gone. So when that 30-day trial period starts, I can tell you about day 4, day 5, the individual's ready for staff to be gone. They're like, oh, I'm good. Sometimes we get a call and they say, this is, Jeff, I just want to let you know sensors are working good and I'm ready to have staff leave. So as soon as that can happen, let's get them out of here. Well, we have to explain, we're building trend analysis data and we're trying to create the safest environment. So it may have to go a little bit longer than what they would like to see. But ultimately their goal is to get staff out of the home and they can enjoy their home as independently as they can, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a neat thing that we're able to do that for them. Remote support services right now, we're able to help people living in their natural home with family, but maybe mom and dad need a little support at night so that they can sleep. So we're able to do a variety of sensors in a person's home. And then ultimately, if we see an error, see a situation that we need to have assistance, we're going to call the family. The family will be the one responsible for responding. We may have individuals that have been independent their whole life, but due to a variety of issues, they may need some assistance. Well, we can actually come in and provide some level of assistance. Our system now is set up basically to do 24/7. We originally started out in the overnight hours, but with COVID and everything else that's going on, there's been a tremendous need for services during the day. And so we're able to accommodate that. When COVID hit last year, very quickly we started having individuals that we supported at night now have their day programs closed or their job was no longer available. And so what we were able to do is to expand their hours for remote support. We were able to take care of them remotely, and the equipment was already there. So it was a very easy transition. Guardians and families enjoyed that because they didn't have to worry about a bunch of people coming in and out during the pandemic. Also providers were very relieved that we could expand hours because they didn't have the staff to come in and staff those hours. So it was a good fit for everybody. Our staff, we've actually ramped up our staff. So we're very excited to help Oklahoma expand the use of technology to help meet the needs of individuals. We see this as a great opportunity for you guys. We think this whole event today is an opportunity and a great opportunity for individuals to get a wide range of options of how people can be supported with a variety of systems. So kudos to Miranda and the Oklahoma team that have put this together. We think this has been very, very productive, hopefully for you guys. What we are really interested in doing is we just want to share information about how this system works. We are more than willing to be the provider and to do the work and to be the remote service provider to help agencies or individuals that need that level of support. But what I will tell you is we've also got the green light. If there's a provider out there that is thinking that they want to get into the business or they want to be a remote support service provider, what we are willing to do, because this is the reason why we were set up, is to try to expand this opportunity for individuals with developmental disabilities. We're willing to work with that provider. We could actually start the service where we would be the service provider. And then as they get more comfortable and we train them, and then they basically become a service provider themselves, we can just turn our system over to them and they could have their individuals do the remote monitoring. And that's something that we're willing to offer, because we think that's the best way to expand this type of service, is give as many options as you can. If we get down the road and the service provider says, you know what, I don't want to be the provider of this service, we'll continue to do as long as that individual and folks have selected us. But certainly if the plan is that they want us to come in and set it up and then phase out, we're more than willing to do that. I think that's one of those situations where that's really the mission of Together Tech, is to try to get this service out to as many individuals as we can. And we don't want somebody else to have to go invent the wheel. We've already got the tools and the system that works effectively. So if you're a provider agency interested in exploring that, certainly you can be in contact with us. Here's the contact information for myself and for Bob, and a website that you can get more information about what we do. Probably the coolest thing that we've had or experienced with the development of all these services is really the independence that people are able to get. We've got young adults that have never been home alone, always had somebody in their home, sometimes a stranger, somebody they don't even know. Expanding and having the ability to be independent is something that we all enjoy. And it's something that our folks that are very capable, a lot of times our folks are much more capable than we've allowed them to be or given them credit. It gives them a new lease on life. It really expands their horizon and makes them feel like they're really in their community and living a fuller life. So it's kind of a neat experience. I'm pretty much done with the information that I was going to share. I've got some more stories I can tell. Do we go till 3 or 3:15?
3:15.
Okay, I'll stop right there and see if you guys have any questions. And I've got some more examples I can share with you. Does anybody have any questions about anything? I know I had one question on the last session. Somebody asked about what's it cost. The Oklahoma DD folks are establishing rates, and I would defer that question to them. I can tell you it will be cheaper than staff. It'll definitely be increasing that opportunity for that person's independence. It'll actually help agencies that have individuals that can benefit from this service. It will help them move those live bodies, those individuals, those DSPs to shifts where you really need to have somebody. And I think that's probably the biggest factor right now with a lot of the DSP crisis, which I'm assuming you're having that in Oklahoma. I know we've got other parts of the other states where there's a huge crisis. It certainly will allow you to move your individuals to those critical, shifts, as opposed to just having somebody in a home on a couch taking care of somebody that really is pretty efficient, able to take care of themselves without a whole lot of interventions. Any questions about anything we've talked about? I think I'm going to quit sharing my screen so I can actually see you guys. I'm not sure. Let's see, stop share. Here we go. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about the system? Or if anybody has any questions about what's going on in the state of Missouri? I do have some cool stuff about the state of Missouri, but I'll use that to fill in if we're done talking about remote supports. Does anybody have any questions? Quiet bunch. Or I did a heck of a job explaining it. I don't know which. All right, if there are no questions, I'll just take a little bit more time to tell you guys what's going on in the state of Missouri. Like I said, I used to work for the state of Missouri and now I actually work for an association of providers. So I guess that's the other thing I will tell you. If you're an agency, or if you belong to a provider association, or if you belong to a case management provider association, or if there's other groups that I could come talk to, I'd be happy to do that, to share about remote supports, or even just to share what's going on in the state of Missouri. The state of Missouri right now is having conference committee at the budget, over the division's budget. Residential providers right now are, what's on the table is there will be either $150 million increase or $180 million increase to residential providers to do rate standardization for individuals in residential support. That's a huge deal. We've been working on it 20 years. One of the things that, all the stars line up. Obviously, things are good. So my hope is that we'll have rates standardized in the state of Missouri, and that will provide a whole lot of new resources. You guys in Oklahoma also are going to get money from the American Rescue Plan, or American Rescue, whatever they're calling the latest plan, where they're given a 10% FMAP for waiver services. And those dollars have to be earmarked for HCBS services. So if you have an opportunity to expand remote supports, you would actually have money to purchase all the equipment through that one-time funding stream, which I'm sure Miranda and other folks in the department are looking at how to use that money. But obviously, finding a resource or a source of money to fund all that one-time cost for equipment, it'd be a no-brainer. I don't know if your General Assembly's already looked at that money and appropriated it. I know in Missouri they're going to do a special session. But like in Missouri, it's $120 million. And if we're able to leverage that, that could be $300 million to the DD provider community. So a lot's happened in the last 12 months. And certainly we're pretty excited about some things that are going on. So if you have an agency, or if you have a provider association that I can come and talk to you about remote supports, I'll also come and talk to you about some of the cool things that are going on in the state of Missouri. And I'm sure you've got cool things going on in Oklahoma. Every state's, after last year, it's got to get better. Last year was a low point for everybody, I think. The other thing we're doing, we actually have a telehealth provider that's been established in the state of Missouri that's for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I do some work with them too, so I can talk to you about what they do. So if there's an association of providers or an association of service coordinators, if you're a provider and you have folks that weren't on this call or weren't on this meeting that would like to hear kind of some of the things we're talking about, I'm available. You can contact me through either my cell phone or email, and I'd be happy to come to Oklahoma and be a part of anything that you guys have going on. I think this is a strange thing to say, but I need to let you know I have my shots. I've got vaccinated. I don't know where, hopefully you guys are getting access to vaccines so we can get things back to somewhat normal as soon as possible. But if there's a Zoom call, or if there's another meetings or things that I can be a part of, certainly, I'd like to be a resource for you guys in any way, shape, or form to help you through this. Because the remote supports, for one thing, it is kind of a new territory, but obviously it's exciting, and I think it's the wave of the future. We can't continue to do it the way we've been doing it. There's not enough people in the world. And so technology is the future. There's a real reason why Walmart wants me checking out my groceries. They don't trust me, but they want me checking them out because they can't find enough people to staff their stores either. And that's what a lot of retail outlets are going to. So technology is going to continue to get better. We'll continue to enhance what we do and continue to provide the latest and greatest. It's my understanding July 1 is a target date in Oklahoma for folks to start experiencing this. I will tell you right now, we're ready to come and start setting up trials. If you're an agency and want to do a trial period, we could set something up pretty quickly after we get all the folks online and everybody's ready to go. And we could basically do a trial between now and July 1 and show you what we're able to do and give you the data and access to the different things. So I think Oklahoma's in a good place. Obviously, with what happened today with sharing all this information, I think you guys are obviously getting lots of good options, and that's a good thing. So are there any questions? I'll take a breath, and you guys, there gotta be some questions out there. Ask me some tough questions. Nothing at all. Wow. I can tell I'm the last one. But isn't this the last session?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So I'm between you and the door. So I will tell you, I don't have anything else to offer unless you guys have questions of me. I don't think I'm like an instructor that has to keep you the extra 15 minutes unless somebody tells me, but that is my spiel. And we look forward to hearing from you guys and working with you. Unless there's some objection, I guess there was something. Is that an old chat? I
That
guess.
was the old one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that just came up. Who is the
Yeah.
telehealth provider?
It's a company called Station MD. And I'll be happy if you want to text me or send me an email or something. I'd be happy to send you information on that. Station MD is a group of doctors that have basically established a service that they've tailored across the country to individuals with developmental disabilities. One of the things we were able to do through the Association of Providers in the state of Missouri, we actually went out and got a grant, and we bought a bunch of really cool devices, from blood pressure cuffs to stethoscopes to I don't know, a whole bunch of stuff that basically is Bluetoothed to people's phones, and they can get that information where they have their physicians that are doing the assessments and that kind of thing. So it's kind of cool. No, what they are is they are actually medical doctors. So the state of Missouri established this service last year about this time in a response to COVID, because a lot of emergency rooms were not taking clients. Or if you took somebody, they could only they could go in, staff couldn't go. So this was a service that was available that Missouri actually contracted with. And so what they will do is they will do an assessment of the individual, and they will actually develop a treatment plan. And if the ultimate responsibility, they say it's this person needs to go to the ER, what they will do is they will actually call the ER physician. They'll find out where they're taking the individual. They'll call the ER physician. They'll outline their assessment. They'll let them know what's coming in the door. And so what they're able to do is when that person walks in the door with the direct care staff, they take them right back and they know exactly what they're dealing with. I know that a lot of times ERs are very, they're very busy and can be a lot going on. And I know our folks don't do real well sometimes. I don't do real well. I don't like going to the ER. So we actually have, this system has fast tracked that. The other thing, Station MD, is they've eliminated some of the needs for an individual to go to the emergency room, and they can actually prescribe and can basically, like I said, develop a treatment plan. And then they share that information with the provider and with folks, all from the comfort of the person's home. They basically, you don't have to transport them anywhere. You basically, let's say somebody's not feeling well one night and they're available 24/7. And so basically they're able to conduct an assessment and give them what they need without having to leave their home, which was really cool during COVID. But if you think about staffing shortages and the need of transporting people, if you had the ability to get that within the home, that certainly is a neat service that Missouri's using. And I think Oklahoma might be looking at it too. I'm not sure. Any other questions about anything else?
I had a question. Are the bed sensors and the incontinence sensor, those are all machine washable?
Yeah, the actual bed sensor, the bed sensor will go between the box springs and the mattress. So it's basically protected. It's not going to, you're not even going to know it's there. On the incontinence, what we try to do is provide 3 or 4 of those, and they can be wiped down and sanitized, but they need to be pitched after so many. So that is kind of a reusable for so many, and then ultimately you just throw them away. Any other questions? I don't think I'm going to give you back 15 minutes like I promised, but so So that's pretty much all I've got. What I will do is if you guys have got copies of this presentation, certainly you can email me, call me, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions if you get back to the office and have something that you wish you would have asked. And certainly I'm willing and able to come and meet with groups at any point in time, because I think this is an introduction today. I think I started out with, this is just an introduction of a lot of things. And as you guys get more into this, you're going to have a lot more questions. And certainly I want to be a resource and hopefully support people in Oklahoma that could benefit from this service. And like I said, kudos to Oklahoma. This has been a great event. And like I said, we're willing to work with agencies if agencies want to become that actual provider of remote supports, but we can come in and get it started and then step away, because I think that's something that is clearly a good option if you're an agency, and that way you basically have the remote support piece and you do the on-call side, so it all is within your umbrella of services, as long as that's something that's you're interested in doing and something that the individual selects you as your remote service provider. That's awesome. And we'd be happy to work with you on that. So unless there's any other questions, I think we're probably pretty well wrapped up. If you have anything at all, certainly feel free to contact me or Bob. Bob's on there too. And we'd be happy to work with you guys. I appreciate your time and attention, and I hope we can do some business with you guys and ultimately help some people with intellectual and developmental disabilities gain some independence, because it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And it's where the future is going to drive us, because I think our folks are a lot more capable than we think they are. And the DSP crisis isn't going to go away. I'm really concerned, even with all the money in Missouri, it's still hard to recruit, retain, and to get good people. And so we'll keep you posted on how that goes for us. But we hope we got enough money to make it attractive for folks. But unfortunately, the Walmarts and the Targets of the world keep raising how much they're paying people too. All right. Thank you guys very much for your time. Appreciate it. Feel free to call me anytime or send me an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, Liz, do I need to do anything